Okay, research. Um, it's so easy to get caught in a rabbit hole with research. You find one little nugget of information and it leads you to another and another and another and another. And it's like there's a big prize of knowledge, you know, at the end of the journey. Um, but you have to be cautious about how much research, you know, you do. I think because the story still has to be written. But before that, I talked about setting and time. Time is so important in world building, and it's really important because each time period has its own important feel, has its own atmosphere. For instance, the 1960s don't feel anything like the 1970s. Um, I wasn't alive during the 1960s, and I actually wasn't alive during most of the 1970s. But through my research, you can see through costuming and the events that even happened that these were two totally different time periods. And likewise, the 2000s didn't feel anything like the 1990s. There was a change, again, a change in fashion, a shift in music, a shift in technology, a huge shift in technology. So, research, I think, should begin with time period, you know. And if you're writing a work that takes place in a time period that has not, you know, been invented or does not exist anywhere, and you're the sole author of it, I'd suggest that you still research time periods that you'd like it to mirror. I still think that's extremely valuable. You know, um, you want your reader to have a sense of time, and that sense of time comes with consistencies in the things that your characters say and even the places that they visit. I know when I started to research for my particular novel, um, I'd always been a little bit obsessed with the 1920s and 1930s, really that entire period right after Reconstruction. I was really obsessed with it because I felt like, my goodness, look at how Black people were thriving in spite of lynchings, thriving in spite of Jim Crow laws, thriving in spite of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and so many other things that were designed to completely oppress them. And so that research led me to more research, and it also led me to interesting, obscure figures that I'd never heard of. And those figures ended up being amazing inspirations for characters in the novel. And that's another thing that research can do. It can add depth to your characters. You know, you think you're researching your world and the atmosphere, and you may want to add some alternate events in your story, but it ends up adding deep layers to your characters. It ends up giving you ideas for your character motives. It gives you ideas for maybe even subplots. So I totally think that researching is one of the most fulfilling parts of the writing process and the world building process because it gives you that depth. It gives you those layers, to create a world that has rules that are convincing and a world that has characters who are round and three dimensional and that grow. and change.